Howdy guys, how are we all? So I just had a question, actually in the wake of a workshop I presented at last week. I touched on a few things relating to content, and I've since had a few questions in relation to some content, and one of them I thought I would just do a bit of quick training on, because it is important. And when we do get in the habit, and if you're a client of ours, you will certainly be getting yourself into the habit of creating content, because we put a big we're sort of opening up a lot of windows there for guys to be adding content on their websites and that kind of thing. And we've got full courses on how to create SEO friendly content, all that kind of stuff that comes basically after the platform's been built. But what I want to talk to you guys about is the keyword curve, or key phrase curve, whatever you want to call it. And I just want to talk to you guys about how choosing keywords is important and how it becomes relevant to the search query and to, I suppose, your business, in the sense of who would be typing it in to find it. Okay, so this is the key phrase curve. Oh, and sorry, I should clarify. So for those of you guys that are perhaps not familiar with what a keyword is, keyword would be something that you would type into Google to look for a service. So if you're a plumber, it might be plumber Detroit, or plumber Santa Monica, or plumber Melbourne, wherever you guys are, right? So that's considered a keyword. And the way that it works is, you've got two ends of the spectrum here, right? You've got your high cost, high competition keyword, and then you've got your low cost, low competition keyword. You've got your low conversion probability keywords, and then you've got your high conversion probability keywords, okay? And what this basically means is, if you're trying to compete on a search term such as plumber Sydney, okay, that is a highly competitive search term that has a very low conversion probability, due largely because of the competition. So the caveat to that would be a longer term, like a longer key phrase, which would have, it's less competitive, so less people are searching for it. But on the conversion perspective, if somebody does find it, they've got a higher chance, or somebody does type that in, there's a higher chance of your content showing up in that search, because there's less content created about it. And yes, there's less people looking for it, but it's not as competitive. Okay, so there's some examples that I've given here. Dripping tap. So if you were to try to compete on the search term for dripping tap, pretty much wherever you are, it doesn't matter where in the world you are, I'd say that would be pretty tricky keyword to rank for, because it's super competitive, and it's not, it'd be a highly competitive search term. If you move down a little bit, you can see how the keyword, how it changes here. So we've added a word in here, dripping kitchen tap. Now that extra dripping means that there's probably less people typing that in, which means that it's becoming less competitive. Okay, so yeah, it is kind of probably still relatively competitive, but it's less competitive than dripping tap. Okay, and then as we go down the other spectrum, we've got dripping mixer tap in kitchen. Now there would be less people typing that into Google. However, if somebody did type that into Google, you would have a better chance of showing up in that search than you would in dripping tap, in a dripping tap search. So does that kind of make sense? Now, a lot of the guys, especially our clients that are now using their project gallery to their advantage on their websites, this becomes relevant when you start implementing things like geographic location and services. So on the project galleries and all these sites we're putting on now, we can do really cool stuff in the sense of optimizing those certain pages for, firstly, the service, but then secondly, the geographical location. For example, if you just did a, say you're a renovation expert. Oh, you know what? We'll just use an example of a site that we recently did. They are Sparkies, they're electricians, and on their site they wanted to talk about a switchboard replacement that they did in a suburb in the outer suburbs of Sydney. So they were able to create a page on their website which talked about the switchboard replacement, and the keyword was, I think it was switchboard replacements St Mary's or something like that. But what that does is it means it ties in a geographical location into that search query, and it also positions you for that service. So you basically you're getting two birds with one stone. I'm just going to have a quick look and see if I can find it. So I'll show you a quick example of what I'm talking about here in implementing the service that was carried out and then the location. Okay, so if I jump across to this site, you can see here this is a project that's been created in their project gallery for this job, right? Now, the keyword that we optimized this for the search engines was Canada Bay switchboard upgrade. Canada Bay is a suburb in Sydney. For all you Canadians out there going, what? So this whole page has been designed for two reasons. Firstly, the search engines, we wanted to find anyone that types in Canada Bay switchboard upgrade. Once this site gets indexed a little bit better, this will have a good chance of showing up in that search query. And then also, for customers that come to this site, or say the customers that come to Chris or Emma looking for work, they say, have you ever done any switchboard upgrades in this area, or have you done any switchboard upgrades? These guys can then send them this page. And this page is basically the ultimate social proof. Ideally, you'd have a testimonial down the bottom here as well, but that hasn't been done yet. So it just gives you an idea of how you, like when you're talking about keywords and we're talking about key phrases, don't think that you have to really target down hard on things like Plumber Sydney, Block Drain Sydney. It's not always what it's about. You can get creative with it, and the more creative you get with it, the less competitive it is, which means that you've got a higher curve conversion or a higher probability. Yes, there's less people looking for it, but if they do look for it and they find it, you've got a better chance of showing up in the search query than the others. So I hope that helped. If you need any more information like that, or if you need a platform that will enable you to do that, let me know. See ya.